Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobbi Pomminville, your reporter on the arts. And today we're focusing on, well, all the arts pretty much, because I have the executive director of the Phipps Center for the Arts, and he is pretty new in town, so I really want to welcome him, and I want our audience to welcome him. Darby Lunceford, thank you so much for coming down to the show. Well, not coming down, but doing it virtually.
Yes.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I've only talked to you once briefly, so that was pretty much about music. So we'll try and cover a few different subjects. But first, I want to tell you about Darby. He has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater Studies and a minor in Communications from the Theater School at DePaul University. And you know what's funny about that is I remember you said, I'm used to snow. That's what you said at the musical.
Snow and cold, yeah, snow and cold.
Snow and cold, so you're in the right place. And I'm just delighted that you were hired at the Phipps. And the little bit I've talked to you, now I can embellish that, okay?
Okay.
So, you have so many career and life highlights, and I would really like you to share that with our audience.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I went to school in Chicago, the theater school at DePaul. So theater was really kind of where I started. That really kind of rewinding a little bit before that, I grew up in a little town in East Texas called Athens. And much like the Phipps, we had our own community theater. And that's really where I caught the bug and started on that career path and decided to study that in college from the theater school at DePaul, which was a great program in really teaching me every part of the theater. I took playwriting courses, I took stage management, I had to work crew on all the shows. So I really understand production side events as well. And so that gave me really great basis and ground knowledge for being an executive in the arts. I then went off and started doing internships on Broadway and Broadway advertising and Broadway management and off Broadway. So that really got me to New York. You can see my various posters behind me here, but really got to spend a lot of great time in New York. It was really, really fun and just an exciting time in my life to be there and work on all those kind of shows, from Chicago to Annie Get Your Gun to Amy's View with Judi Dench, and worked with Liam Neeson and Laura Linney and The Crucible. So also had some star turns there too. And after a number of years, I decided to broaden my horizons and kind of see what else was out there. I felt like I was either going to be a lifer in Broadway, or I needed to see what other kind of industries I wanted to get in, staying with the arts. But I really had this nonprofit bug, this mission-based. I wanted to make sure that I just felt that need to be in those kind of organizations that really tried to be impactful and make good for the community. So I went from the antithesis of New York and went to LA, lived on the beach for a while, and I really started what I call my real life master class within the arts. And I took several jobs over the course of a decade that really trained me for the position I'm in today. I furthered my knowledge in marketing and advertising. I started to understand fundraising. I understood all the components that go into those, really understanding how to build out a season in all varieties. I worked in ballet companies. I worked in museums. I worked in theater. I worked in opera, classical music, symphonies. I've worked in classical theater as well. All of those things that you will find at the Phipps. So in terms of coming to this job, I felt that I was quite prepared because I knew a little bit about everything that the Phipps does. So I feel like I really have something to contribute to this great, rich community that already knows the art here so well and really pushes things forward. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt?
No, I was just taking a break there. So after that, from LA, I moved. I've lived in 7 different states over the country, so I kind of also understand, in a sense, different cultures and understanding how to fit into different cultures as well from that standpoint. But I was a traveling consultant for a while. Worked with all kinds of arts organizations throughout North America, including Canada. I put about 300,000 miles on the map each year when I was a traveling consultant, domestic. So that was a pretty heavy lift, but it was really exciting work because I would go into these organizations and really teach them and work with them on change management of how to advance their organization for the future with marketing and advertising principles, fundraising principles, patron loyalty, all of those things that really make an arts organization very rich in what they do. Little stint back on Broadway for about a year, and then made my way to DC. I worked at the Shakespeare Theater Company there. I led a campaign that won the regional Tony, so that was a really fun kind of highlight of my career there. And then was wooed out to Minnesota from the Children's Theater Company in Minneapolis. They got me out here. As you mentioned, I like the cold. I like the weather, so I didn't have any. I was okay with coming back into this kind of climate from that sense. So after Children's Theater Company, I was at the Minnesota Opera for about 4.5 years, and then that leads me to this role.
That's the best resume I've ever heard. And to think that you are such a good fit for the Phipps Center.
It's kind of like I tailor-made my resume to fit here, right?
Yes, it is. And all those impressive experiences and the way you carry yourself, and you have this friendly demeanor, and it's just wonderful that we can welcome you finally now to Hudson.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm lucky to call the St. Croix River Valley my home as well. So it's great to live where you work.
Nice. Very nice. Now, you didn't mention this, but you did when I saw you virtually at the Music Council meeting, you talked about a very exciting time in New York where you had some kind of involvement with 9/11. Could you share that?
Yeah, definitely. I was about 4 blocks from where the towers went down. So it was really, it was a cold, crisp morning. Interestingly, I had just come back from Boston the day before, and we were so close that when the first plane hit, you could feel the apartment shake. And in New York, you think, oh, well, that's just a truck going over some construction or something like that. But then all of a sudden you see people gathering because you could walk out on the street and look up and see the towers. And then the real crazy part was feeling that second plane hit the second tower. And you just immediately knew that was it. You knew something really nefarious was happening, that this couldn't just be happenstance. So, we were able to get a bunch of people into the apartment and get them off the street, and eventually had to make our way out of Lower Manhattan because all of the electricity went off. But I was working on Broadway at that time, and that was crippling for that industry. I can't imagine, and I understand COVID is even worse, just for the length of time. But what was really just quite amazing was being able to rally with that community. And we created this, remember the I Love New York campaign? Every plastic bag had I Heart New York on it. So we took that. I was working for a Broadway advertising agency, and we took that concept and we created I Heart New York Theater. And this is, remember, before social media, right? Social media was not existent during 9/11, but we took that campaign, we immediately built a website. We started the road to recovery for that industry. And you can still find this now, and maybe you guys can find the footage and play a little clip of it. But we created this huge gathering of all of these stars, and all of the Broadway casts came out to Herald Square and they sang New York, New York. And that was the video that we played everywhere, just to get the Broadway community back and to shine a light that, this was devastating. No one wanted to go into a theater. Everybody was scared at the time, which is very similar to this time too. So I'm excited to see what that industry does in terms of coming back from COVID. But, this does play into how I manage and how I think about things. I understand those crises and how to bring them back. And, I'm applying that to the Phipps now.
Wow. Just to be there and go through that. All right. Now I have a few other questions for you. Of course, because I don't know everything about you yet. And one thing is, you may have alluded to this a little. Would you tell the audience why you wanted to be the executive director of the Phipps Center? And then secondly, and the big thing is, what are your goals now for the Phipps Center?
Yeah. Well, I think you know this story, but it's true, and it's really quaint and fun, I think. But when I first moved to Minnesota, one of the things that we would do is come out to the St. Croix River Valley. So we'd get away from the city just, as a day trip. And we would also bring a lot of people coming into town that may have done all the sites of the Twin Cities. We'd bring them out here just because we loved it so much. And that was my first time encountering the Phipps. I wasn't really aware of it. It was just walking around downtown Hudson. And I actually came for the Spirit of St. Croix Festival, which the Phipps Center does with the Chamber. And we came across this building, and I kind of looked at it and said, oh, that's an arts center. And I was so impressed that a town of this size could have such a substantial center dedicated to the arts. And I said to my partner, I said, in 5 or 6 years, that's the place I need to run.
Wow.
So maybe I threw it out into the universe, or I'm not sure what, but you put things out there like that, and sometimes they just happen. And so, so I think it's a little kismet of that way. But when the opportunity came up, I had just moved to Stillwater. So I had already relocated myself out here, was still working at the opera, commuting in, and then knew this job was available. And I just thought back to that time and said, I had to go get it. I have to figure it out and do my best to land that role. It was quite an interesting interview because it was all really in and around COVID. So it was, very much a lot of Zoom interviews and learning about the organization and meeting the board. And all that stuff. But I think it worked out for the best so far, and really, really happy to be here right now. One of the things about me is I tend to like to lead on and drive the ship instead of just be a passenger. And, I think with my life experiences in particular in the arts, I felt I was ready to take on this organization or this type of organization, even in normal times, but also in COVID times, I was confident that I could really step in and steer an organization through this. I'm not a stranger to disaster and crisis in that sense. So going back to those roots, I knew I could do it. A strong board that really laid the groundwork. Following in John's footsteps, who brilliantly led this organization for so long. But to me, this whole time period is also a great opportunity to take a legacy that has been here for so long and really understand what's the next chapter. And I think you get a bit of a leeway right now because everything's not normal. And for a year and a half, nothing will have been normal for anybody. So when we come out of this, I look at it as a rebirth. I look at it as a way into the future that is the next chapter, that can be the next Phipps for the next generation. One of the things that I just absolutely love about the model of this organization is that it gives the power of art making to the community. And coming from large institutions through various art forms, that's one thing that they're struggling with. It's often been a one-person curator of the art. And this organization, by design, from the way that it was built, starting in with the art guilds and when the building was built in 1983, was about flipping that model and saying to the community, the power of art making is in your hands. You're at the table. let's see what you can do. And the administrative side really is to facilitate that. So that's what I see as my role, as the role of my staff, is how do we facilitate and make the best art we can, really this intersection of community and art making, and making sure that it's quality, that it's broadening perspectives, that it's building new, connecting new people to the arts. And I think it's just a brilliant model to be able to do that. And that was something that I really want to carry on and make sure continues on. You know, it's something we have to work on always. We have to work on inclusion and making sure that there's more people at the table to be able to do that. So I think that's something else that is of interest to me and the organization, is making sure that we are focused on diversity and inclusion, that we are focused at who's at the table. Again, we have this great model to give access and to give that power. And so let's look at who's at the table and make sure that as an organization, if we've excluded anybody, purposefully or not, that, you know, we take a look at those and we understand and have that cultural competency as an organization as we move forward. You know, also, I find that a lot of folks, you know, with the Phipps, not everybody knows what it is. And, you know, with my marketing and communications background, I've just found these rich and great and just all of this history and these stories. And, you know, that's where I come in. That's how my storytelling happens. That's the artist in me, is how do I craft these stories to go to the community and say, this is what's going on here. This is the impact that we're having. This is what we can provide in partnership with the community. And I think COVID is a prime example of how we can't, as an arts organization or really a community focused organization, we can't just be a building. We have to be more than a building, because, you know, we've been for, like I said, 1.5 years now. The building as it has existed before is different. And so we have to make sure that our community knows why we're here, that we are important to be here, whether it's about the building or not. But we have to show up in the community and make sure that we're doing that, and we're there for folks in that way as well, beyond our walls, for example.
Great answer. I can just see you at the board of directors meetings, directing and leading. And then I think about the aspects of the councils. And I've had somebody from every council on this show at one time or another. And I also have entertained John Potter when he wanted to come on the show. But there was always a big fall season kickoff. Now, is that going to happen this year?
Oh, we sure hope so. We're so ready to get back to it. We are. We are going to take a little hiatus first, so we'll get to fall. But let's talk about summer first, because I think this is a big thing for everybody to know about too. We back in 2013, there was a capital campaign that was completed for renovations for the Phipps, really to refresh, renew, update, really bring the organization into more of a contemporary place. And so really over the last 8 to 9 years, many of those upgrades have happened. You've probably seen the big marquee sign out front that really kind of, I call it our landmark sign, because it really tells you what the building is here and this is what it is. We converted all of our theater lighting over to high efficiency LEDs. We renovated the galleries. We created a ceramic studio. So a lot of great work was done. The next phase of that was the common spaces. And, you know, we're a building that pre-COVID was programmed almost every day out of the year. So when do you find time to stop and close the building for long enough to do a renovation? And, you know, this kind of seemed like the right time in the summer. We had to make this decision last year to say, okay, well, COVID seems to continue to go on. We anticipate it's going to affect programming in the summer. So why don't we go ahead and just finish this campaign? We have the funds to update and renovate. And so that's what we're going to be doing from June to August. we have a couple of programs that will remain. We're doing some outdoor summer art camps. We're doing some music classes and some dance things. So mainly operating out of the north end of the building. But for the most part, everything in the middle will be closed down, and yeah, so that we can have a fresh new look, and that leads us into fall, where we really, we're starting to plan. We're just going to say from 0 to 60, it feels like, but we starting a little bit later in the fall than we usually have, trying to kind of start with planning a kickoff weekend, knowing that when people come back, they're going to be able to see the new Phipps and kind of see what we've done on the renovations, and really put together a dynamic theater schedule from both the Drama Council and our children's theater, working on music selections. We have galleries we know that are opening in September. So that's what we're really working on now, is thinking of that more traditional season that we've had from, fall of 2021 through July of 2022.
Oh, that's a great thing to hear, because I have really missed the Phipps. And, virtually is great, especially for art studios and so on. But it really doesn't do the job on the other things. I mean, the drama, you've got to be there in the seat. And I did hear that you had a bit of a dance recital.
We did a whole, you can find them on YouTube and Facebook still.
Yes, I've seen Facebook.
Yeah, we had our dance companies do a whole dance sequence. We started on the Circle Drive and then moved inside and did a dance in the lower gallery, and then did a number in the Phipps Black Box as well. So it kind of really felt like this great linear, it's about 4 minutes in length, but something that really, made sure that we had some digital programming out there, especially this was last fall when we shot this and released it. But yeah, it was really fun. I think it was really well received. I think we had over 5,000 views on social media. So, more than they would ever have on the stage. So, I agree with you. There's nothing like a live event, but I think, what we've learned and what everybody's learning is there is a place for digital. It doesn't have to be that is somebody's business model. It's people's business model. It's not our full business model, but it does increase our accessibility. We can reach more people. And if somebody's interested and, thinking about, what's the Phipps about? Well, they're able to see it. They're able to kind of have that tangible representation, and then they can make that decision if they want to come in person.
Oh, that was so exciting. It's all over Facebook.
Yeah.
I've seen myself from my friends and the parents that I know, I've seen 40 shots of the dance. And I know a few of the girls, and it is very impressive.
Yeah.
And I do think it's so great to get that word out there for people to start thinking about the Phipps.
That's why I was saying, we have to be more than a building. And we really wanted to make sure that even though dance programs weren't all happening in person the way they normally would, that there's still a representation out there, and dance is still important. We also did a chorus, our Phipps chorus, festival chorus. They did a holiday number as well.
Yes.
So that's something that we incorporated too. And that was our virtual holiday card for the season, and something new and adventurous for all of them to be involved with. It's quite complicated. It is not an easy thing to do. It's a lot of work to compile everything together. But they were troopers. They did great, and I think we had a great chorus number that came out of that, again, to share with the community and just again let people know what we're about.
Yes, and I could speak personally. That's the first time I've ever recorded virtually and sung in a choir. And I was totally baffled how to do it. But of course, I had really good friends that helped me, the Dollies.
Yeah.
So I was very excited that I was on to see that. And then eventually I was able to share it with family and so on.
Yeah.
So that was just genius.
Yeah.
But the technicalities of it.
It's a lot. I mean, if people don't know what it is, it's everybody singing individually, and you essentially create this track with clicks so that everybody stays together, and you can't perform on Zoom and these platforms together because there's a delay. So that's what makes it really hard to perform live digitally. And so these virtual choruses that have come out, it's painstaking in that everybody is recording almost their own little movie. And then behind the scenes, they're taking all of that, they're putting it together, they're lining it up, they're doing the sound mix. And in this case, the individual that helped us create all that also did the editing too. So really a lot of talent there to create those things. So when you see them, don't just think that somebody slapped it together. It takes a lot of skill and work to do that.
Yes, it does. And oh, thank you for that. Whoever came up with the idea, and it was just amazing. People love those kind of things.
Yeah,
it draws attention to us as an art center. We have so many facets of the arts, and I find that just really enticing. So now, is there anything else special going on in the Phipps in April that you could tell me about? We're going to air this show in April, but I don't know if you have any secret things either.
I can tell you what we're working on. We do have our children's theater is doing a new show that'll come out May 1st through the 15th or 16th, called Aunt Maggotty's Dark and Stormy Night. So that's in the Black Box Theater. Tickets are on sale now for that. We're closing exhibitions on April 3rd, but we'll have a new set of exhibitions starting on April 9th in the galleries. And remember, those are free. And so really easy access to come in and see some really great art from local artists. One of the ones I'm excited about on that is a show called Release that is Minnesota fly fishing artists. So it's these artists that also are fly fishermen that kind of have created this exhibition and compiled this exhibition for us. So I think that's going to be really unique and unique to see. We're working on a little series that we're entitling Music in May. That is going to be three Saturdays in May: May 8th, May 15th, May 22nd. I have word, I think, from Nate that he may help us, Nate from the River Channel may help us record those so that we have some digital broadcast components as well for that. But the idea is to welcome in summer and use the Phipps patio as a beer garden, and Hop and Barrel is going to help us out, and they're going to create a beer garden for those concerts. And so everybody can gather outside, have a beer, and then come in for the concert and then go back and hang out on the patio. So welcoming in May before we go into our renovation, and just having a few more things to do before we close down. And then lastly, we're looking at potentially doing a benefit concert in the summer in August at the Bandshell. So we're putting that together as well.
Well, you may get the question about the Minnesota Orchestra. Have you discussed that?
We haven't. This is a little bit of a different thing than what was typically the Thursday concerts. That was really in conjunction with the city, and the orchestra would come out.
Right.
This is going to be on a Saturday. It's really going to be more focused on more popular bands and almost feel like a music festival. But it's we wanted to set it apart a little bit, just because we wanted to make sure that people understood that it was a separate concert and it was something that the Phipps was doing to really try to help benefit and raise money as a nonprofit organization. You know, with the COVID restrictions, all of our programming has been at, lowered in capacities of 25%. So we just can't have the same type of income that we've typically had through ticket sales and program sales. So this is something where having a free concert in the park to give access to the community to come out and look for sponsorship and donations to really help the Phipps kind of through this last bit of time before we can actually get to where we're performing more. So I envision that those concerts, particularly with the orchestra, will come back in the future. I don't know if the city's doing concerts this year, the Thursday night concerts, but we kind of have our Saturday just to set ourselves apart a little bit. But we'll look for that again in the future.
So I'm not quite sure if you're talking about the band shell or what else. What did you mean when you said patio?
So the May concerts are on the Phipps patio, which is our patio on the west side of our building.
Right.
So that's music in May. That's the May 8th, May 15th, and May 22nd. We'll do we'll do a beer garden. Those are Saturdays as well, but we'll do a beer garden on the patio, and then everybody will come in for the concert in the John H. Potter Theater. They'll see the concert, and then they can go out and enjoy, hopefully, the nice weather of May back on the patio.
Nice.
Separate from that, we're still in the planning phase right now. We're looking to do a summer concert at the band shell in August. And that's the benefit concert that will be at the band shell.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, such great ideas.
Yeah. Well, you got to be innovative during this time.
I just love these ideas, and these are so innovative. There's some different things here that will really draw people. And I just love the ideas you have. And I just would really enjoy that kind of summer thing myself. Yeah. And just think of all the musicians around here.
Yep.
I mean, we just have endless scores of musicians that have been and played at the Phipps for various things. And then you could draw them all together for a summer series.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be
like that.
Yeah. And I think the summer benefit concert, hopefully that can move forward. I think people are going to be ready for it. They're going to be ready to come and sit outside. And I think, the vaccinations are moving more quickly now. And I think by the time we get to that point, folks are going to feel much more safe, particularly being outside. And, I think it's just, a chance for the Phipps to bring people together in a safe way, not all gathering in the theater at full capacity yet. That's what we're hoping for fall. But I think it's the right time for that. And we're excited. We hope it can move forward.
Wonderful. Now, have you been here a year yet?
No, July was when I started. July. So all this in 7-8 months.
Amazing. This has been quite the year for all of us with all the changes.
Yeah.
And the warnings and so on and so on. Yes, you have a very good plan. I'm just really impressed. I just know the Phipps Center is going to be so popular again. And the new things you have going on are wonderful. So anyway, I'm hoping that this audience that watches the show can look for those things on the website and whatever.
Yes, that's the best place, that and social media. We
will put the website up and so on like we usually do. Yeah. I believe it's the same.
Yep, thephips.org.
But then when you say the John H. Potter Theater, is that the main theater?
That is. So with John's retirement, the board dedicated the theater in his name. We officially made that announcement at our annual members meeting that happens in November. And with the renovation, we will be replacing the signage and putting up the actual words. So that is now and shall forever be the John H. Potter Theater.
Oh, what a wonderful tribute.
Yeah.
And I did spend some time on the board of directors working with John a couple different times through the Music Council. But I really take interest in all the arts. So you know what? I'd really like to keep in touch with you and have you on again.
Of course, yeah.
And we definitely want to advertise and encourage people to come back to the Phipps.
Yeah, well, we should, as we build our fall, as we build towards fall, that 21-20 season, we should know that, soon. And maybe that's where we can come back and talk about our plans for that.
Definitely. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I just really, really have enjoyed talking to you, and I've learned so much more about your goals and what's happening at the Phipps. And I really want to keep people informed. So thank you so much, Darby, for being part of the Western Wisconsin Journal today.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my pleasure. And thanks for all you do for the Phipps. I know outside of just things like this, you're part of our art making community. So we really appreciate that and having your voice in all that too.
Thank you so much. And I do want to say to the audience, I hope that you will definitely take advantage of some of these wonderful offerings that are coming up and support the arts. That's been one of my goals throughout my life. And I hope to see you at one of those concerts or in the theater soon. So please do watch for the website. We'll put it on. And thanks for watching the show today.